right. Hello, everyone, and thank you for being a part of the 2021 Virtual Christmas Summit sponsored by Boscoyo Studio. All of the presentations in this room are specifically sponsored by Lightorama. Our next presentation is S5 Grouping and Modeling for Timing Tracks, again by Ryan Marshall. During the presentation, please do not unmute yourself or start your video. You're welcome to use the chat to ask relevant questions about the presentation, since other attendees or the host might be able to answer your question. But save all questions directed at the presenter for the end of the session during the Q&A, please. At that point, you will be allowed to unmute yourself and ask questions, or you can just put them in chat. Thank you all for attending, and Ryan, take it away.
All right, thank you. Okay, so let's start again. So this is grouping and modeling for the timing tracks. We've covered on how to make timing tracks and how to put artwork into those timing tracks. Today in this presentation, I will show you how to group all your props that you might have into groups that will correspond with those timing tracks. Again, I am Ryan Marshall. I am 16 years old from Oxford, Michigan. I've had an animated display for about 8 years now, and hopefully many more years. I'll move on. With grouping props, I will cover obviously grouping the props with the existing props to make sequencing easier, as well as how to group them based on what timing tracks we have created. The benefit to this is getting the most out of your basic or your standard props and making them a little bit more interesting. All right, I will switch screens to sequencer. Okay. So this is the quick preview I designed for this presentation. This is not my home, obviously. So I will start with the different timing tracks. So in previous, I used the drums and the highs and a beat for the timings. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and just make groups of pretty much everything you see here. Obviously, we got our snowflakes, we've got our outlines, we've got mini trees, we got icicle lights. If you want to get really in depth, we've got verticals and we've got horizontals. For now, I'm just going to create the basic groups, and I will show you just a little bit in the sequencer on how to move your existing work to groups. So you'll start off with adding, and instead of adding props, you want to add a group. For this group, we will start with the, we'll just say house outlines. We will do the lower roof. And this is obviously this will be, if your shell is bigger, obviously this will go down much farther. For this presentation, it's smaller. So we'll just select the ones we use. We need the roof, upper roof, the verticals, and we'll leave the icicles out because they're not an outline, really. I'm going to just go ahead and put an arrangement in here so we can drop some effect or some effects on them. You can also, this is a different presentation, but you can add motion effect rows to this group so that you can add stuff. I do not believe any of this stuff is smart pixels other than the roof lines, so we shouldn't be able to place many motion effects on those. And as you can see, once you put them in a group, it groups them all together and you're able to paste effects on those specific groups without putting them on the individual model levels. Okay, and we're going to add snowflakes. We're going to not include that. All right, include all 4 of these snowflakes. Again, we'll just do that. We're not going to put motion effect rows because they are just AC target snowflakes. And you see they selected those again. We will make another group that is mini trees. Find those. Save. Those we actually will put a motion effect row on there so you can paste them back and forth effects to those. Okay, so we did that. We need, oops, I don't think I labeled those correctly. 1 second. All right. And then we'll create an icicles group. That was right. And upper icicles. Great. Okay, so this should be all the groups. You got house outlines, you got icicles, you got mini trees, you got snowflakes. Mega tree shouldn't need one because the mega tree is already pretty much a group in itself. And then obviously you got the star, which most people program that separate anyways, so there's really no need to put that in a group. So from the artwork from the previous presentation, and we'll go ahead and take these and put them into, first of all, let's create a view that has those groups in it. So we'll just say add new view, groups. And you'll see I've made a group folder here. We'll just select all those, pull them in here. Now, obviously, it's all groups. So what we can do is let's say you have all your existing work. We'll take these and we will move these into a group, which the mini trees have already been placed into a group because it just took their models and pushed them into a group. How you can program an entire group is by going to the groups, and you can expand these, see what props are in here, which obviously you saw what props got put in those. We'll switch your timing track. We're just something easy. And let's open these up so you can see where we had timings. Okay, so obviously you can see the existing timing tracks. This actually saves quite a bit of time if you're just doing something basic like this, like a ramp. You can just, we'll just take this and we'll move this up to here. Mini trees, and that will, actually that should be white. So we'll just do this, fade down. And now you can see all of them light up, which motion effect rows actually make this easier because you should be able to highlight this, right click and create a motion effect. And with this, obviously, I'm not going to go into detail about the motion effects because it's a different presentation. But you can still use effects on AC stuff. It very much does save a lot of time. In the old S4 days, me actually having to go in here and do, this is incredibly time consuming to do this without an effect. By creating that an effect, you save a lot of time while programming. So that's putting the props into groups. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Let me just make sure I'm not skipping anything here. Okay, so I showed how to put everything into a group, and then I showed how to move some stuff over into groups. Let's show taking a timing track and putting them into a group. So let's go to our timing tracks we created. And instead of pasting it in here, like you normally would, let's say you'd fade it here, we can actually completely get rid of that. And instead, we will create, let's do a beat on the house, for example. So we'll say icicles. We'll just quickly put some beats in here. And see if that's on. I'm just gonna make sure I was sharing sound. Yes, I was. Okay, so that just made it a little bit easier to take those effects and put them on everything at once instead of having to manually do everything, which to me is a huge time saver in sequencing. I don't usually do anything by hand as like arches. Actually, I will create some arches because I know arches are a very common prop. Let's quickly go get them. Just set the white. And we'll make 4 of these. And I'm going through this kind of fast. 4 arches, and I will also make a group out of these. Let me check the chat real quick. It just disappeared again. Okay, I will check chat in a minute. So let's just make these look somewhat, whoops, make these look somewhat pretty for this. And then we will line the bottoms. Okay, let's create a group. And put these in there. You want to line the bottoms, and we'll set arches. And we add a motion effect row. Okay. Now we're gonna, but the nice thing about when you add a group, when you've already created a preview for those, just insert the group that you just made. Let's do that. Okay. So now let's go to a part of the song where we can use the arches. Okay, I see something right in about here. We could use them. Okay, and I did not put the right I don't mess with the arrangement very much, so stand by for a minute. That's not it. Oh, I think it's the use preview. That's what it is. Weird. For some reason, I cannot get them to arch correctly. Aubrey, do you recall which
What you're looking for?
Which arrangement can I use to make the arches actually look like they're jumping? I always use the wrong arrangement, and
you're going to want horizontal stack align bottoms there.
Okay, that's what I had. For some reason, that wasn't working.
Yep.
All right, maybe it's just the effect I'm using. I should be able to get them to. Anyway, I'm getting off topic here. So by using this, the arches, by grouping, it makes arch work a lot easier. Actually, Megatree as well. Megatree is actually incredibly difficult to use without using groups and motion effects. Most people use pixel trees nowadays, which you're forced to use a group or a motion effect generator anyways. Here I am. I came from S4, as of 2 years ago. So coming to this method is a lot easier, and I'm glad the developers decided to make this simpler. The Megatree, I'll just quickly show how easy it is for the Megatree as well. That's actually not creating a group, which I gotta make sure the tree has motion effects. Whoops, I don't do that here. I do that here. You can add these quickly, and then just how much time it takes out of sequence, or how much overwhelming time it takes out of sequencing just to make these into groups. And then you can, let's just do this. And voila, you got a spinning tree. Where before you used to have to open these up, and obviously you'd have to take these and say, I want to shade or fade down, and I want to chase it between all the colors, which this technically does give you a smoother look to the tree, which I just pasted it over this, so you're not going to be able to see it. Which in my opinion just looks smoother, but again, it's another one of those topics that's personal preference if you want to use groups. Obviously, some people prefer to use it the old-fashioned way and just manually do every prop by itself, which a lot of my inspirational people do because you can actually get more detail out of it. I found that groups, you can't emphasize everything that you used to be able to do. I found groups work great for the effects, the effect generator, and yeah, that's pretty much it. It's again personal preference. I can't persuade which way you use it. I will just show you how to use a group. I am going to switch over to chat and make sure I'm not missing anything. Let's see here. Is there a plan for lore to add labels to the props? Indicate if they're AC, smart pixel, or dumb pixel. Labels meaning in the preview, or because if you click on each one, you can actually, it shows you over here which one you picked. Or if you go to the string summary, you can see it says, obviously it's string colors. And then if you click off of that.
Ryan, you're not sharing anymore. So if you're
something
showing something on your screen.
Yep. Yes. Yep. Thank you. Okay. So Lightorama doesn't actually, it won't show you it in the preview. But if you click on the prop and open it up, you can see it says over in this corner. So this one is just traditional lights, and then this is RGB. And then if you also open up the string summaries tab, it'll show you on this side if it's RGB, white. Sorry, if it's RGB, if it's white, if it's green, if it's red, if it's purple, if it's blue. Most common with AC is white, red, green, and blue, which is the most 4 common colors I've seen, or multicolor. Lightorama does support multicolored lights too. You can, when you create a new prop, you can just say it's multicolor, and then you can add obviously whatever colors you want in there, and it'll make that prop that color. Hopefully that answers that question. Let me make sure there's nothing else here. So that's a good question for you, Aubrey, if there's a plan to add labels for the props to indicate if they're that. I don't believe that's a thing right now, but I could be wrong.
Not that I'm aware of, and we kind of talked about that in chat with the black versus gray rows and the sequencing grid, but otherwise in the preview, it's really just kind of remembering if your arches are pixels or not.
Yeah, no, okay. Perfect. And this is colors rows. Yeah, I'm just making sure. Again, I think I'm going to go to questions early just because, again, it's another one of those things where it's more based off questions. I think I can help more people with questions. I'll just show the overall, and then you pretty much just ask for questions. So at this time, let me just pull back up. For some reason, PowerPoint doesn't like me again. Okay, at this point, if there's questions, please throw them in the chat, because I'll be more than happy to answer those. Or to unmute yourself, even better. Okay.
Does motion effects only work on RGB?
No, nope. Actually, if you saw this, did you see the spiral trees earlier? Those were actually AC that I was using a motion effect on. So to answer that question, no, it's I use them for AC stuff like my AC arches and etc.
Now that's a nice feature.
But the caveat is your controllers have to be able to support an enhanced network. So if you've got old AC controllers like before 2011, you're not going to be able to do that.
Yep, that is a very good call.
Are there any settings you have to specifically set on from the controller point of view to tell it to use enhanced?
Controller, no, but it needs, if you're running it from a computer, you need to use a red high-speed adapter. And in the network preferences, you'll need to check that the network needs to be enhanced instead of normal. Otherwise, the sequencer won't know what to do.
Yep, those are pretty questions. Is there yeah, please don't be afraid to ask these. I'd rather answer them than there would be confusion after this. Yeah, so in a group, an effect on a group, it depends on what effect you're using, honestly. Like if it's a bars, honestly, to me, it's more choppy looking, like it's because it's controlling that entire group. Like you saw with the arches, it was controlling all four of them as just a standard prop. It wasn't actually controlling them as with multiple segments, which it just now occurred to me that I didn't put segments on the arches, so that's why they weren't hopping or they weren't actually doing what an arch is supposed to do. Versus a single prop, if you're doing it on a single prop, you get more of a motion out of it. It's again kind of hard to explain, but yeah, it honestly depends if it's a pixel prop, which is a higher density, which obviously every pixel can be controlled, versus an AC prop where it's that specific prop or that specific string that turns on. Does that hopefully answer your question?
Let me, maybe if I can add to that. If you have a group and you expand on the group members, you can actually control them with different motion controls and still have a mixture of the group motion controls and then add individual motion controls to it.
All right, Ryan, I'm going to take it back from you since we've got about 5 minutes and I want to get set up for the next presenter. So thank you everyone so much for joining us for this presentation, and thank you again to Boscoyo and Lightorama for their sponsorship. We're going to take a brief 5-minute break to switch presenters, and you're welcome to stay here or go switch to another Zoom room. If you stay, please don't unmute yourself just so us hosts can talk to each other if we need to get everything set up for the next session. Thank you so much, and we will be back.